Okay, my name is Justin Rempel. Welcome to the third video in the series on meter in poetry. This is part 3, and we're going to be taking a quick look at notation. Notation is the way that we analyze and mark poetry to notice where the rhythms and the rhymes are. But in this case, we're really focused on the rhythms. We're looking at meter. So what kinds of signs and symbols do we use to mark it up and to figure out what meter is going on? So there's a certain kind of notation for a line break, and you'll see this quite a bit if you're studying poetry, because sometimes you'll have the poem formatted properly on your page, but sometimes people will just be quoting it, and they'll be just writing poetry using it in a quote, and you'll see a slash all of a sudden somewhere in the line. A forward slash just means that there's a line break there. So normally, if it was the proper poem formatted on a page, the line would end and you would skip ahead to the next line. So for example, in this line from Sir Alfred Lord Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade, half a league, half a league, half a league onward. After the second half a league, you can see that forward slash, and that just tells you that there's a line break there. Normally, when you're reading the poem on the page, it would say half a league, half a league. There's a line break, so we skip to the next line, and then it says half a league onward. Okay, scansion is a term that just refers to the analysis and classification of poetry. Different systems use slightly different notation or marks to indicate things that are going on, but in general, it probably looks like something like this. Like I'm going to give you the most common forms of notation. So usually, if you see a vertical line, that's dividing the feet. It's called a foot boundary. So these are marks that don't appear naturally or normally in the poem. We use them when we're marking up poetry. So you can use this for yourself if you're trying to analyze the poetry and figure out the meter, or if you see this in a book somewhere or on a website. It's not a natural part of the poem. It just tells you that someone is studying the poem and they're marking it up. They're trying to figure out what kind of meter it is. So if you see a vertical line, that shows you where the feet are. Okay, so it's splitting up the feet. Sometimes you'll see a little slash over top of the words. That's called a wand, and it's a dash, and we place it over a syllable that's stressed. So where there's an emphasis, you'll see a little dash called a wand. And then there'll be a little mark over the unstressed syllable. Usually that's a cup, a little U shape like this. So, for example, this is a couple lines from William Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, very famous quote. If music be the food of love, play on. That strain again, it had a dying fall. So if you were reading this on the page normally, it wouldn't have any of this stuff. It wouldn't have the bolded words. It wouldn't have the marks over top of the words. It would just be the text, just the words. But here it's marked up with a notation called scansion, and it helps us to see where the meter is, where the emphasis is. So a really easy way to tell is you emphasize the syllables in bold, right? If music be the food of love, play on. That strain, again, it had a dying fall. Okay, another way to tell is if you look over top, you can see those vertical lines splitting up the feet. We can see that each foot has 2 syllables. And the first one is unstressed. It's got that little cup over it. And the second one is stressed. It's got that little slash or wand over it. Okay, this means we're dealing with iambs. 2-syllable foot. First one's unstressed. Second one's stressed. Da 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 da. Okay, we also can see that each line is 10 syllables long. That's 5 feet. 2 syllables each for 10 syllables total. We call that pentameter. Penta is 5. There's 5 feet. 2 syllables each, 10 syllables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If music be the food of love, play on. So these are just little marking systems that we use to show where the stress is and where the unstressed syllable is.